Let the world know that you are a sexy, sexy speaker. Speak your mind. Do your jive. Things are about to get real. Why You Are Secretly a Bigot by Mac Devlin. I'm not here for sympathy, Cupcake, nor am I here for validation, credibility, or identity politics. The facts of my life are quite complex, but also quite simple. That's the weird dichotomy of genetic disorders and genetic chimerism. I had a twin that was absorbed in the womb, so I'm essentially a composite of two people's biological flaws. I have Becker's muscular dystrophy, confirmed by genetic testing, and LADA diabetes, an autoimmune form of type 1 that developed in adulthood. I also live with venous pooling, rheumatoid arthritis, severe depression, crippling anxiety, and unpredictable hypertension. These are not a mood, they are verified medical diagnoses. I am disabled by every standard definition, and my disability is obviated by my use of a wheelchair. I didn't always use one, no, but I've always had clear physical differences. Online, my real story doesn't actually matter because I don't fit the victim metric. Brace your outrage. I am a white male in his 40s. I have an unambiguously Irish name and a presumed gender. That's enough for folks to frame me as privileged. Offline, my differences arrive first and foremost. People don't often talk directly to me, but when they do, they speak slowly and they explain things I already know. The assumption is always that I need help, even when I don't ask. The result is I don't technically have a voice. I'm too privileged for the internet, too disabled for the real world. I've had to fight for every inch of ground, literally and figuratively. I paid for my education and I paid for my first vehicle. I've had employers quietly push me out, not for incompetence or disobedience, but because I couldn't lift 50 pounds. The excuse is always something small, something technical, or something deniable. But there is a very clear pattern. If a workplace doesn't want to accommodate you, it won't, and it will find ways to move you back to the fringes. I've been treated like an outsider since childhood. I was mocked for my body before I had a name for what was happening to me. I was told I couldn't play, couldn't participate, couldn't join, and mostly because I looked different. That kind of exclusion builds slowly, and it isn't always obvious. Rather, it is passive, quiet, and systemic. A closed door, a missed opportunity, a pivot to someone else, these are the signs I have learned to read. Gently, gently, ever so gently, I am told I do not belong. But here's the thing, buddy. I do belong in ways that you will never see or understand. I'm creative, articulate, responsible, and I'm a damn nice guy, if I do say so myself. The exclusionary aspect never fully goes away. It just evolves into something more mechanical, something more subtle in its dehumanization. Today, that dehumanization wears the face of access. Access that, at its core, is just smoke and mirrors. The ADA, for instance, is cited as a societal badge of honor. But in practice, it's the floor, not the ceiling. It's the bare fucking minimum. A grab bar is not equality, nor is a job application that asks about physical lifting before skills, nor is it a ramp that leads to a side door, something to subtly tell you that you can work here, but please do not be seen. Do not make the customers uncomfortable. That's another thing. How many people have you seen with disabilities in forward facing positions? Goodwill, for all the good it does, keeps the disabled employees in the warehouse. Stay in the back. It's better for all of us. There are few, if any, comedians, actors, reporters, politicians, activists, or anyone in a public position with noticeable physical differences. That's not accidental. No one wants to see what makes them uncomfortable. The same dynamic plays out in creative spaces. I used to play guitar and drums, and while I was quite terrible, I could hold rhythm. I was capable of contributing to the technical side of my art, but I no longer have the muscle function for it. What I do have is a voice, a damn good one. People have heard it in studio sessions and church services. I've written songs and lyrics and collaborated with others, but always quietly. Aside from my church's praise team or my older brother, no one ever asks me to join them on stage. They frame it not as hostility, but as logic. You're not physically capable. Don't tell me what I cannot do, is usually my response, but I still don't want to participate if I'm not wanted. Yet the messaging is clear. We like your voice, just not your image, and we can't have our audience wondering what is wrong with you. Nothing, pumpkin. Not a damn ding dong diddly thing is wrong with me. Because there was no space for me, I found tools to carve out my own space. AI music software lets me build tracks around my vocals. Is it perfect? No. Does it overcorrect? Yes. Sometimes it makes me sound like Howling Wolf choking on steak. But despite its consistent and embarrassing failures, it gives me a way to keep making music, something I absolutely adore. And yet, because there is always an and yet, even that draws criticism. I've been told it isn't real art. Using tools is cheating. Using AI is quiet theft. Not the way I do it, with a cappella, beatboxing, hummed chords, and actual sung vocals. I use what is available to me, and it isn't much, to continue to create dope ass tunes. I'm not contributing to the downfall of creative culture, darling. I'm expanding it with real shit. Arguments against tools like this rarely consider who is already outside the gates of the music industry. The criticisms come from people with access to bands, instruments, and physical mobility. Let's not forget the ones who arrive in spaces and control them with a pre existing sycophantic fan base. I won't name names. The assumption from the critics is always the same. If I were good enough, I'd already be in the room. I say, fuck your room. That bitch has always been locked to people like me. I'm not asking for the door to be held open wide. Instead, I'm asking for people to stop pretending that the door isn't even there. How many unattractive or different people have been excluded from the stage on shows like American Idol, X Factor, or any one of those mass talent search shows? Just a digression for a second. So many of those contestants get through with sob stories about struggle, but when someone with an actual visible struggle comes along, the British prick says no, and the chick with the lazy eye tells them no, but that they are so brave. Please. Digression over. This isn't completely about music, art, the internet, or even jobs. It's about how the disabled are perceived in every context. We are often expected to be gentle, inspirational, and humble, and grateful for whatever scraps we are thrown. Oh, thank you, Master, for the bone. That's not respect. Rather, it is a performance of civility. The reality is much harsher to face. You, the able bodied world, do not often see us as viable. You see us as a problem. And as soon as we name the damn problem, we are dismissed. I don't fit your perception of intelligence, creativity, ambition, romance, so you take away my room to speak. You ghost me and others like me, not just in communication, but in importance. I am important. I see the forest for the trees. I love faithfully and honestly. I create things that matter. I see everyone as a human being. I don't need to be sainted to be respected, and I don't need to be patient to be heard. You cannot claim to support disabled people while rejecting the tools that allow us to work, and you cannot praise diversity and then exclude those who don't fit your comfort zone. Bigotry is not always a slur, it can be structural. It can be who you think of when you plan, when you invite, when you promote, when you picture success, or when you picture competence. If you've ever looked at a disabled person and assumed they were slow, you're a bigot. If you've looked at someone online and used their cultural demographic to determine worth, you're a bigot. If you have assumed someone had nothing to say because of how they presented, you're a bigot. If you've refused to collaborate with someone because of how they move, speak, or appear, then baby, you're a bigot. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I am trying to be accurate, and I am using my whole ass chest to reinforce my accuracy. If you believe in inclusion, be consistent with who is included. If you believe in fairness, be material rather than abstract. If your activism only applies to people who look and speak a certain way, that ain't activism. People like me exist in the gap between two projections, the one who is a burden and the one who must be privileged. I'm too disabled to lead, too male to be marginalized, too sick to be credible, and too articulate to be dehumanized. This is why I am constantly dismissed, constantly corrected, and quietly told I don't fully belong anywhere. But I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm here to make something clear. You are not as inclusive as you think. You are not as neutral as you claim to be. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then you've understood what I'm laying down.